All right, Lost Generation. Among my recommended reading list is George Orwell's 1984. Now, I might make an actual video of my recommended viewing and reading list for you to really kind of understand where the world is and where a lot of my views and opinions come from. Most of us have read George Orwell's 1984. I don't believe it's mandatory reading anymore. They wouldn't want you to read that, folks. Oh no, not anymore. Not that our society and government resembles that of 1984. So there is a slogan that is part of the propaganda of the world of 1984. And this is probably one of the most recorded slogans from that book. And that quote is, "War is peace, ignorance is strength, and freedom is slavery." And my, how true has that become in today's society? War is peace. Everyone seems to have this concept that we are generally in a peaceful world, that things are peaceful. But that's because you don't really hear about the perpetual wars that have been going on anymore. You used to hear about them daily, and now you rarely hear about them, as if they want you to forget that the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan are still technically ongoing. Then there is things like involvement in Libya, involvement in the Ukraine, and don't believe what they're telling you. They're absolutely involved in the Ukraine. A lot of that was started by George Soros funded foundations, NGOs. But regardless, what they definitely don't publicize all the time is that we have AFRICOM, and we have troops all over Africa constantly, supposedly aiding the governments in defeating these rebel factions and warlords. So, in fact, we've been in perpetual war for a long time. I mean, really, if you think about it, we had the Civil War, the Spanish-American War, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and on and on and on and on and on. And up until modern times, and you know the story of modern times, war after war after war. And most of them have basically done nothing for us, but made a lot of people rich and got a lot of families destroyed, a lot of people ruined. But, they don't care about that. It's just one more way to make money. I've actually heard, I think it was on the SGT report, which I am a fan of the SGT report. I'd recommend you checking them out. But they had a quote on there that said, "Misery is a business model," which is absolutely true in today's society. War, keeping people sick, fear of terrorism, fear of viruses, fear of the climate, fear of the drugs. There's all this fear that's ginned up to justify all these conflicts and wars that need to be funded and need ever burgeoning bureaucratic budgets and more dollars spent with contractors. It's just absolutely outrageous. There is no peace. And that's just talking about America. There's wars all over the globe. They never talk about the war in Yemen. Your average American does not even realize there's a conflict in Yemen. I would be willing to wager that most people couldn't even find Yemen on a map, much less that there's an ongoing war there. So they really don't fully publicize the wars in a way where the people are informed of them, and they're just hoping you forget about the ones that they started over a decade ago. So let's talk about ignorance is strength. In our society today, people are so scared of uncomfortable truths, petrified, mortified, trembling in their boots at uncomfortable truth. It's absolutely astonishing how ridiculous we have become as a society. I mean, just the social justice warrior topics and everyone being easily offended, and the fact that, in like Canada and Sweden, people are attacked and, they want to fire them just for pointing out that there's a male and a female gender, which are biologically distinct. I mean, what lunacy has overcome us? But that's not even the main point. People should know that they're being taxed to death, intentionally to keep them in place on the socioeconomic structure, partially to keep them working in the system, and to basically limit you. That's the only conclusion I can come to. The taxes don't even meet the demand for money. The rest is borrowed, created, etc. And people convince themselves that they're free and convince themselves that the country is prosperous because it's so difficult to look at this all for what it really is, which is extortion and corruption. That's really what it is. The money, for the most part, gets pissed away and siphoned off. And, if you look back to before 9/11, there was a report on $2.3 trillion being missing from the Department of Defense's budget. But that story is eerily similar to several later stories in the past few years of more missing trillions. And then, of course, there was the 16 trillion that's unaccounted for during the bailouts of 2008. I mean, when are people going to look at the truth and realize that not all is well and that not all is comfortable and the future isn't going to be as the recent past? No. No, they want to be entertained. They want to numb themselves with food and drink and entertainment, and some of them drugs, to forget about all these uncomfortable truths about our society. And everyone's so easily offended. And to me, being easily offended only shows that you have so much self-doubt that offense is easily provoked. You must not really believe in yourself or your values or your beliefs to where an external person can say one thing and you have a breakdown over it. If you truly believe in yourself, you're not easily offended. Okay, let's talk about freedom is slavery. How true has that become in our society? All the things we just talked about, the insane taxes, when we talk about the Federal Reserve, how that works, how that's basically a tax on the entire economy, and then their policies lead to inflation, which is a backdoor tax to rob you of your savings and your purchasing power. And, the people at the top get first use of that money. So, by default, they are robbing you with inflation and devaluation. 100% you are being robbed. And they're cheating the numbers. The numbers are being fudged to hide how bad you are being cheated, how bad the country's being cheated, how bad your children are being cheated. And we've become so comfortable with this state of affairs that we think that slavery is in fact freedom. Now, let's talk about the technological surveillance grid. People know that their computers can be used to keep tabs on them. People know their cell phones can be used to keep tabs on them. People should know that the newer vehicles with the telematics system, and especially with the hotspots in them, that can be used to track you. Every piece of data you commit is being used by marketing firms, research firms, governments, the government pretty much can come into whatever utility or internet provider or cell phone carrier and basically take whatever data they want. And they're going to cooperate because they have a lot of money to lose by opposing the government. And you have, third parties with cookies and malware, which are also doing their own data mining. And then you have all these people going on Facebook and just freely giving it all up. And then their Google searches, total insight into how their mind works and what's on their mind. I mean, there is no privacy anymore. There is no privacy, and it's almost impossible to be completely out of that technological grid. And pretty soon, everyone's microwave, toaster, refrigerator, door locks, security cameras, lighting system, all of that is going to be on Wi-Fi. And Wi-Fi, especially when they get the 5G all fully rolled out, is going to be a Orwellian data mining and surveillance grid. And you can say that's a conspiracy theory all you want, but the documents have already come out that prove that it's true. Especially if you look at the Vault 7 release. I mean, this is all public knowledge, except for the public ignores that the knowledge is there. It's another ignorance is strength type feature that has been hammered into the mind of the public. So I want you to really think about all these things, and I'll give you a little exercise here. Why don't you think about how if you had to unplug from the system and get completely untrackable, how you could possibly do that? I guarantee you will not be able to. And they've got the chips in the cards, and eventually they're going to want those chips in your hand, and they're going to want you to pay with your phone, do all your banking on your phone. Everything's going to be transferred from one account to the other. And then they're going to try to get rid of cash. And once they get rid of cash, there is no way out at all. You can't even think about it. So, if they ever try to get rid of cash, whether you use cash or not, you might want to consider resisting that. Anyways, have fun with your exercise. It's something I think about frequently, and I still don't have all the answers. If you have all the answers, please make a video or email me your thoughts and opinions on it, because I would love to hear it. We'll be talking about more 1984 references, and especially from that society, how it all functions in future videos. Lost Generation, Lost and Now Found.